Jai Nandalala Madhyoli Charanam. Today's topic is about Shani Bhagavan and how his influence, what happened with a beautiful story about this couple, Nala and Damayanti, and how Shani Bhagavan influenced their lives. And we want to understand the whole thing. Of course, we all know who Nala is, who Damayanti is. We've heard these stories as kids. But it's always a fear that is put in our minds as we were growing up, that Shani Bhagavan is somebody's very scary, you know. Always we think of Shani as a very scary element, a very scary god, a planet. Oh, and especially in the astrological charts, the period of Shani is depicted as a very scary period. And it's not like a small period of time. It just, it's for 7.5 years or 18 years. It depends. So all these factors put together, people just have this fear towards Lord Shani. And I've seen that over and over again. People, especially who would like to know if they're going through a bad period, they immediately go and check their charts to see where Shani is. And this is very, very common in our community. So I just want to clear that cloud. And I'm going to give you a different side of Lord Shani, after which I don't think you all will ever go and see your astronomical charts or your astrology in that way. You're not going to see him in your chart in a scary way. I'm going to give you the other good side of it. I'm going to give you the truth, as Amma would say, right? Unme. What is the truth? So here is the truth for you all. Who is Lord Shani? Now, when we see our scriptures and when we read through our Puranas, we have come across Lord Rama. We have come across the Pandavas. Now, according to their charts, it's written in the scriptures, according to their charts, they were going through this period of Shani when they went into exile for the 14 years that Lord Rama went. He was going through Shani period, is what the scriptures say. During the Shani Dashai is when Lord Rama was sent on his Vanavasam. Same with the Pandavas, when they went into the forest, they had to hide themselves for that long. They were also going through that period of Shani. Now, during that time, Yudhishthira meets with sage Bharadwaja, and he relates to him his plight. He just goes and he says, what am I going through? I'm going through so much of hardship. It's so unfortunate that I lost my wealth, I lost my kingdom, I lost my belongings, and I even humiliated Draupadi, and I'm just I feel like a loser. I don't think anybody on this earth would have gone through what I have, is what Yudhishthira says. Yudhishthira is so upset by looking through his whole life, when he looks back and he says, what a blunder I did. Everything I did is a blunder. And he tells sage Bharadwaja. Now Bharadwaja smiles. Yes, we all know King Yudhishthira has gone through hell. And he had to go through this war. But sage Bharadwaja smiles and he says, "O great king, consider yourself very fortunate, because when you were going through all this, you still had your family, your mother, your brothers, all of them were with you, including your wife who was with you. And forget all that. You had the Lord himself with you. He said, who's that? Lord Krishna. He was there with you. And you're telling me that you have gone through hell and nobody else would have gone through what you did. Think about it. Well, I will tell you one story, he says. Sage Bharadwaja is telling him, I will tell you a story which will prove to you that yes, there was a person who went through hell more than you did. And that is about King Nala, he says. King Nala has gone through a pitiable state that yes, nobody has gone through. Sage Bharadwaja says, do you want to hear about that? And Yudhishthira was very shocked. It's like, I'm here thinking I am the most affected. I'm in the most pitiable state. Now, really, is there somebody else who has gone through worse? Now, we always think that, right? Like so many of us, without considering anything or looking out anywhere, we always, I'm sure we have gone through, we've gone to Amma, we've gone to Sri Amma and we've told her, Amma, I don't think anybody would have gone through hell like me. I have gone through too much in my life. I don't think anyone would have. Correct? It's very human. It's very normal to think that, because we've only seen people around us, our immediate family or our immediate friend circle. And we may feel we have gone through more because our friends, one of them don't even talk about their lives. They keep themselves away from all this. They don't talk about what's going on inside their lives, but they put on a smile and then they kind of, you don't know. Some people have a smile on their face, but they're the strongest. Doesn't mean they're the happiest. They're the strongest. So we don't know what they're going through. So we just assume that we are the ones who are drowning in the worst possible situation. No. There are many who go through worse, all depending on their karmas. Many who are spared too, but you can never weigh a scale and put it as such that I'm going through the worst. Never. So here he talks about King Nala. Who's King Nala? Nala is the son of King Veerasena of Nishada, the kingdom of Nishada. And he's a beautiful, handsome prince. So handsome that even sometimes the gods used to be jealous of him. All the gods. So when I say all the gods, I meant Lord Varuna, Lord Indra, Lord Vayu, Lord Surya, all these other gods, they used to be very jealous of him, that he's so handsome. Now, this prince, Nala, had a swan as his pet. Now, one day, the swan tells him about this beautiful princess. The swan gives him this message. It tells him that there's a beautiful princess named Damayanti, and I think she's going to be the best fit for you. She'll be the best wife for you because you're so handsome, the swan says. So Nala is like, really? So you should take me to her. I should see her. So the swan says, well, you have to wait. There'll be a Swayamvara and then I'll tell you. So now Nala is waiting for the Swayamvara. Now Damayanti, on the other hand, she's a princess of Vidarbha. She's a daughter of King Bhima. And he's the king of Vidarbha. So she's, as the swan said, she's absolutely stunning, beautiful. She's a beautiful princess. Again, all the gods want to marry her. That's how beautiful she is. Now, as the swan says, Bhima organizes a Swayamvara. Now, Nala is not an ordinary prince. He is well versed in all the astra and shastras, and he knows how to maintain horses. It's a very unique quality. It's an art. So he knows how to maintain horses, and he trains them really well, and he's the best cook. He just developed this hobby of cooking, and he can just cook up a very delicious meal without any effort. And that is why they say Nalan, for cooking. Nalan Mari Samaikiran. So he cooks like Nala. That's a compliment. If someone tells you you cook like Nala, it's a compliment because he's the best cook. And all put together, most handsome. And so the Swayamvara happens, and Nala is on his way. And in the midway, he meets Lord Indra and all the other gods, Vayu and Varuna, and everybody they're also going for the Swayamvara to be, to try their luck. So King Nala is very amused. It's like he, takes their blessings, and Indra looks at Nala. He's like, oh my God, here's our competition. I don't think we're going to, I don't know. I don't think Damayanti is going to pick us if this guy is there. So all of them know that, because when this man is going to be there, a part of the prince, they don't have a chance of winning the garland. So of Damayanti. So they knew that very well. So they said, Nala, because they know they're the gods, right? They have the upper hand. So they say, Nala, you need to do me a favor. Now Nala cannot say no because these are the gods. So he says, command whatever you want, I'll do it. So he says, Lord Indra says, I need you to go and give a message to Princess Damayanti. He says, okay. So Lord Indra says, tell her that she should pick. It's okay if she picks me or Vayu or Varuna, it doesn't matter. But she should pick one of us. And we will give her the best of the worlds. She can be the queen of Indraloka if she marries me. And all this, So Nala is like, oh gosh, he loves Damayanti. He wants to marry her, but he has no other go. He has to take this message. So he comes up with this excuse. He says, well, Lord Indra, there's a lot of security and a lot of soldiers. I can't just enter into Damayanti's room. Are you kidding me? It's not easy. So Lord Indra says, don't worry about all that. I'm Lord Indra. I can give you powers to enter without anyone's knowledge. So now Nala, that excuse is also gone now. He had no other choice. He had to take the message and go to Damayanti. Now, Lord Indra made a way for him to get into Damayanti's room without anybody noticing it. And there she was. She's getting dressed. And Nala is there. The minute she saw Nala, she knew that that was Nala. She has heard about Nala too. And she wanted to marry Nala too. So it seemed like these two knew who they wanted to marry very clearly. And Damayanti, the minute she laid her eyes on Nala, she knew that is who she's going to marry. And whatever came out of his mouth after went over her head. It just didn't matter. So he was standing there and he also was attracted to her, but then he remembered that he had a message to give. So he says, Damayanti, I have a message for you. Lord Indra and all the other lords want to marry you. And they said, whatever the message was. And she listened to it and she said, okay, but I want to marry you. she says. So Nala is very happy to hear that. He says, well, thank you, but I don't think you should be doing that. You should consider this, he says. So Damayanti says, after all, this is a Swayamvara and I have all the right to pick who I want to marry. So Nala says, okay, all right. And he leaves. He's very happy inside. Now he comes and gives the news to Lord Indra and the other gods. He says, I spoke with Damayanti and he had to tell them the truth. He says, well, she said she wants to marry me. I'm very sorry. I'm terribly sorry. I tried to tell her everything you said, he says. Then Lord Indra was very sure that this was going to happen anyway. So he just wanted to know what was in her mind. Now he knows. He knows what is in Damayanti's mind, that she wants to marry Nala. Now what did Lord Indra do? They all disguised as Nala. They all disguised as Nala and stood there for the Swayamvara. So many Nalas standing. Now Damayanti comes out with the garland. Damayanti is not stupid. Damayanti is not stupid. Well, the lords thought she was, but she immediately understood who the real Nala was. How did she know? How did she know who the real Nala was? Nala is a human being. All the others are gods, right? Now, the gods have a specific quality in them. They don't blink. They don't blink. And their foot don't touch the ground. See? And the garlands worn by them do not fade. And they don't sweat. They don't perspire. So that there's no perspiration there. So she knew who the gods were. And she knew who Nala was, because Nala was very tensed and he was all sweaty. And of course, he's standing on the ground. That's another thing. And he's blinking. The gods are not blinking. So all these factors put together, she went directly to Nala and put her garland on him. Wow. The lords were very impressed. Lord Indra and all the other gods were. Wow, she's very smart. And they blessed the couple and left from them. They didn't do any problems. They didn't give them any problems. They left from them. Now, on their way out of the palace, after the Swayamvara and everything, King Nala and Damayanti got married. On the way out, Lord Indra and Lord Vayu and everybody saw Lord Shani coming in. On the way, he's coming towards the marriage. And Lord Indra is like, oh no, Shani Bhagavan is going there. Wonder what they're going to face now. Now, Lord Shani, he waits outside the palace. He waits for an opportunity to catch Nala. This is the Shani period. Everybody go through this Shani period, right? So King Nala also cannot escape the Shani period. So after 12 years, happily married, Nala and Damayanti. After 12 years, it was their Shani period. Shani enters their life. Lord Shani. Now, suddenly, King Nala is acting weird. He's gambling. He started gambling. He started drinking. And then his brother, who's always jealous of Nala's brother, he wanted to trick Nala and get everything. So he started pulling him into a dice game. This is so like Yudhishthira, right? In the Pandavas story. So he pulled Nala into a dice game and Nala lost everything. King Nala lost everything. But he was very smart not to put Damayanti in the dice game, which Yudhishthira did. So he did not sell Damayanti. He spared her. Now Damayanti saw this coming. And what did she do? She sent the kids away to her father's palace beforehand. Very smart lady, huh? So she sent her kids away to her father's palace. The kids were safe. Now Damayanti had to stay there for Nala. What a nice wife. Of course, she loves him. Though she told him so many times not to do that, not to do this, he did not listen to her. And that is what Shani Dashe does. That is the period of Shani. You don't listen to anybody's advice. You keep doing what you're doing. And that is what King Nala did until he lost everything. And then he lost his palace. And he had to walk out of the palace without anything in his hand, like a beggar. When he was walking out of the palace, Damayanti also followed him. She followed him out of the palace. And when he looked back, he saw Damayanti and he said, just go away. Don't come back. Don't follow me. Go to your father's house. Don't be with me. I'm bad luck, he says. Damayanti says, whatever you are, I will not let go of you. I'm going to follow you. I'm going to come with you. And we are in this together, she says. But Nala weeps and cries and says, please go. I have to deal with this myself. After I make up for everything, I will come back and get you, he says. Damayanti says, no, I cannot leave you. I will come with you. So they go into the forest and they find a place. They lie down to get some rest. Now Damayanti is fast asleep, thinking Nala is beside her. But Nala, getting the opportunity that she's asleep, when she's in deep sleep, he leaves her, he abandons her, and he walks away. He just leaves that place and goes away. Now Damayanti is left there, all alone. She wakes up and she sees that Nala is gone. Now Nala keeps going and he comes to this place where he sees somebody calling for help. He hears someone calling for help. Help me, help me. And he sees a fire, a lot of smoke and there's fire. So when he goes there, he sees a snake. And that's the snake is calling for help. Now, what would we do when we see a snake calling for help? Would you go and help the snake? You'll be scared. That's after all a snake. You're not going to pull it out of the fire, fearing that it'll bite you, right? Nobody does that. But King Nala, that is the beauty of King Nala. Nala was such a good, noble soul. He was a beautiful person. He even did not think twice. When he was suffering, when he's lost everything, still he wanted to help. So he gives a hand and helps the snake out of the pit and saves the snake. And that is the snake Karkodagan. That's the name of the snake. And he saves Karkodagan from the fire. Now, obviously, the snake had to show its the trait, right? It bit Nala. It bit Nala, and the bite was so severe that Nala transformed into a dwarf and he got deformed. That handsome prince that he was, it just changed him to something else, to the other extreme. He was deformed and he became a dwarf. Now the snake says, from now on, your journey is going to be a little different, for which you need a disguise. That's why I changed your form, he says. Now everything comes with a good, right? See, when you do good, you get good only in return. Now you'll know why. Now the snake gives him a cloak kind of a coat, kind of cloak kind of thing, and says, keep this. Whenever you want to come to your original form, you wear this and you'll get back to your original form, he says. The snake. Now Nala thanks the snake and he goes, and the snake tells him to go. He tells him everything. He says, go to Ayodhya, and there's a king there. Rituparna is the king's name. You go and you work for him as a charioteer because you're so good with horses. You be his charioteer. You work with him. He's a very good dice player. He will teach you the game of dice. The snake says, now see how it all comes together. Now he listens to the snake and he goes towards Ayodhya. And there at the kingdom, he meets the king. He tells him that he's a very good charioteer. He shows him his skills and the king is impressed and he gets the job. Now, he also cooks the king a meal one day, and the king permanently puts Nala as his cook. Now there he does not have his name as Nala because he doesn't look like Nala anymore. Now his new name is Vahuka. Vahuka is his new name. So Vahuka starts cooking for the king. Nala becomes Vahuka. And he's cooking for the king this delicious meals, and the king is so impressed. He's like, I don't want to eat. Nobody else cook for me. Only Vahuka cooks for me. Now, wherever he goes, king would go there or meeting another kingdom, another place. He will not eat in their place. He will, obviously, Vahuka goes with him. Nala goes with him. So he cooks for him there. Everywhere he takes Vahuka and Vahuka cooks for him. So this was the king's, the changes he made after meeting Nala. Now here, Damayanti wakes up to see there's no Nala. She walks and wanders in search of Nala, calling out his name. But then she gets lost and a hunter takes advantage of her and wants to, misbehave with her. And at that same time, the minute he was going to touch her, he's burnt to ashes. That is how powerful Damayanti was. Now, with the help of a few good merchants, she goes with them. They take her to a kingdom nearby. And in that kingdom, she gets a job of a maid for the queen. And she's the queen's maid over there. And the queen always wonders, this girl is so beautiful. How come she looks like she could be a princess. This is what the thoughts of the queen are. And here her father has sent men all over the place in search of Nala and Damayanti. Now the same men come to this kingdom, and when they're talking to the queen, Damayanti comes and she serves food and she leaves. That time, this man catches, his eye caught Damayanti, and he sees that Damayanti has something very unique. She has this, in between her eyes, there is a lotus, permanent lotus drawn in between her eyes. And that is the uniqueness of Damayanti. And anybody in Damayanti's kingdom know that about her. So he saw the same lotus. Though her face was covered, he saw the lotus in between the eyes and the eyebrows, and he knew that it was Damayanti. And he told the queen, that this maid of yours, she's Damayanti, she's a princess. And King Bhima is looking for her. That's when the queen confronts the maid, and she asks her, who are you? Tell me the truth. And then Damayanti had no choice. She even put a lot of coal in her face, to make her look a little darker so that nobody recognizes her. But somebody already did. And then she had to wash off all that coal off her face and reveal her actual face. And the queen was shocked. This beautiful woman underneath all that paint that she had to disguise her true looks. And the queen arranged for a beautiful chariot and the guards, everything, to drop off Damayanti to her father's kingdom. And Damayanti was back here. And again, the search continued for Nala. Now, one day, Damayanti had this beautiful, plan. She's a very smart princess. Now, she said to her father, let's have a Swayamvara again. You arrange a Swayamvara for me. Now, wherever Nala is, he has to come because he doesn't like me getting married again, right? Obviously, right? He loves Damayanti, so he doesn't want her getting married again. So she says, arrange a Swayamvara for me. So King Bhima says, okay, I'll do it. Whatever it is, you have a plan. Okay, let's see. Now, the news spreads about the Swayamvara being held and the news comes to Nala. And Nala is seeing that and he's like, well, good for her. And he tells his king, Rituparna, he says, oh king, you should definitely go for the Swayamvara. You will win Princess Damayanti. She's a beautiful princess. So Rituparna takes his guidance and he says, let's go. So Nala takes the chariot out and takes the king all the way to the kingdom, Damayanti's kingdom. Damayanti is waiting outside in the balcony like this with her hands in her cheek, leaning and looking at all the chariots coming in for the Swayamvara. All the kings from various kingdoms are coming in and she's looking at every chariot because she knows Nala's chariot sound. She knows. She loves him so much. And for all these reasons, because his uniqueness was so distinct that she knew exactly how the horse runs in his chariot. The beat, there's a distinct tune, there's a beat, there is a sound that the horse makes when Nala is the charioteer. That sound she hears as soon as Nala enters the compound of the palace. She hears that distinct sound. She was like, Nala is here, Nala is here. And her attendants were very shocked. They were like, how do you know? She said, no, I know he's here. You go and check out who's that chariot who came just now. She says, just now they entered. Go and inquire. So the attendants go and inquire and they come back and say, it's King Rituparna has entered the palace. She says, okay, was he riding the chariot? They said, no, he had a charioteer and his name is Vahuka, I believe. Vahuka, okay, she says. All right. And then she's still in thinking and keeping an eye on this Rituparna and Vahuka. And then she says, let's go and serve them their dinner today. And then the attendant says, oh, King Rituparna has told us not to serve dinner because he has brought a cook with him. He does not eat anywhere, I believe. So now Damayanti is very curious. She's like, oh, did he? All right. Okay, then. I have a doubt. Can you sneak up and get that food for me for tasting? She says. So the attendant says, I can try to do that, yeah. So once the meal was made, Vahuka made the meal, everything is cooked. This maid of Damayanti comes inside, sneaks up and gets a sample of that food and she runs to Damayanti. Damayanti couldn't wait to taste it because she again knows Nala in and out. And she tastes it and she has tears in her eyes. She says, this is my husband. this is him. He's cooked this meal. I need to go see him. I don't care. I need to go see him. Take me to this man who has cooked this meal, she says. So they take him. They take Damayanti and go to that place, and there he is. A small man, dwarf, deformed. And she's shocked. She stands there and she's like, and of course, Nala knows her. He's shocked to see her. And she's shocked to see this person. She was in this, anxiousness to come and see Nala, and there she's seeing another person instead. She's shocked and she's standing there and she says, who are you? Did you cook this meal? And he's like, he didn't open his mouth. He just shook his head. How do you cook so well? You can't cook this meal. You're Nala, right? She says. He's like, no, don't lie to me. And then immediately the dwarf, turns around. He doesn't want to show his emotions, because when he saw Damayanti, he wants to cry. He wants to go hug her. He wants to embrace her, but he can't. So he turns around, and Damayanti is inquisitive. Says, she knew that is Nala. And she asks him, she doesn't leave him. She says, why did you have to leave everybody and go? Why did you run away? Why does a king do that? Does a king do that? She asks. And Nala slowly replies, yes, if he's in shame. If he's in shame and he can't see anybody he loves, he can't look in the eye. Yes, he runs away, he says. He replies. And Damayanti immediately knows who he is. And Nala had the cloak. That was the time. He had the cloak in his hand and he puts it and he reveals himself again, his original form. And Damayanti is so happy to see Nala and embraces him, never to leave again. And the Swayamvara is done, united again. Now King Rituparna is shocked to know that all this while, the great King Nala has been cooking for him. The great King Nala has been riding his horses for him. And he always asked Nala to teach him how to ride the horses so beautifully like that. The horses just fly. They don't touch the ground. They fly. It's like it's in a flight, it's like a bird. They're not like horses. They love Nala so much that they start flying. That is how he rides the horses. The king says, I need to learn this art of riding horses with you. I have to learn it from you. He keeps saying that when he was working for him, But then now he realized, oh my God, right now I understand. It's all coming to make sense. And he says, King Nala, oh King Nala, can you still teach me how you do this with your horses? And King Nala says, I would be glad to teach you, my dear king. But I want something in return, he says. Name it, I will give it to you, he says. I want you to teach me how to play dice. And the king says, definitely. I will teach you how to play dice, he says. So Nala learns how to play dice from the king. He's an expert at dice game. This game of dice, he's an expert. And he teaches him all the tricks. And Nala learns the game of dice. And at that point is when Sage Narada and the he comes and he meets Nala and he tells him, you should go to Darbaranyeshwarar temple, Thirunallar, the Lord Shiva there. And that's when Lord Shani will, leave you and you can be back to your happy life again. So Nala says, yes, I have to do that. I will do that. So that's when he goes and visits Thirunallar. Thirunallar is a very famous temple. The powerful lingam, Lord Shiva. And he goes and visits the temple there. And that's how he gets rid of the Shani Dashai, that they say. And that is mentioned, he's relieved of the influence of Shani in his life. Now, Thirunallar, Nala is Nala, Aru is to heal. So the Nala was healed here in Thirunallar. That's how the name came up, Thirunallar. So it's one of he created a Tirtham here, which is called the Nala Tirtham. And he washes himself. They say you can wash all your misfortunes in that Tirtham and past karmas in that Tirtham. And then you go to see Lord Shiva. The Lord Shiva is very powerful. I believe when Nala entered this temple, Lord Shani Bhagavan, who was residing in him, just left his body and went away. He went and hid himself. So when Nala entered the temple, Shani Bhagavan left his body immediately. So that is what they say, that this place is very powerful. And Lord Shiva, he gave the boon to Nala, not only gave the boon to Nala, but also Lord Shani, saying that you will find there will be a separate Sannidhi for you here. People will come here to pray for you, because when they come here to pray for you, you need to relieve them of their miseries, is what Lord Shiva told Lord Shani. And Lord Shani agreed to it. He agreed to it and he keeps his word even today. So that is why people say when you have this Shani dosha or whatever, when they go see their horoscope, they say, go to Thirunallar and you will find the relief. Because here, Lord Shani is in the Abhaya Mudra. He has his hand like this. Abhaya is fearlessness. He's giving you the blessing. So when you go seek him there, you will be relieved of your misfortunes or miseries or whatever. That's what they say, that this place is very, very powerful for that. So now Darba is the Sthala Vriksham here, and that is why the Lord is Darbaranyeshwarar. The lingam is called the Darbaranyeshwarar. Now, when we talk about Lord Shani, there is, now Shani Dashe runs for 19 years or sometimes 7.5 years, correct? Now, Lord Shani is not the one who's bringing the misfortune. I wanted to clear that. Now, let's get to know a little bit about Lord Shani. Who is Lord Shani? Why are people always getting scared of him? Lord Shani is the son of Lord Surya and Chaya. Now, he is called as the Lord of Justice. Can you imagine? We're all scared of somebody who's called the Lord of Justice. Now, he's the one who keeps accounts of one's karma in this birth and in the previous births. Now, Lord Yaman, we know Lord Yaman, Lord of Death. That also a lot of us are scared of. He is called Dharmaraja. Lord Yaman is called Dharmaraja. They both are brothers, Lord Shani and Lord Yaman. are brothers. Now, Lord Yaman is the son of Lord Surya and Usha. Now, Lord Shani is the son of Lord Surya and Chaya. Now, every god is given a responsibility, right? Every god has been given responsibilities, and which they do very consistently, and they have a discipline. And if they don't, they're answerable to Lord Shiva, because Lord Shiva is the one who's appointed everybody and given their specific responsibilities that they're supposed to do. So if they don't, they're answerable to him. Now, they say that when Shani was born, that there was an eclipse. So Surya, lost his the brightness, the light. So that's why Surya Bhagavan himself thought Shani was bad luck, his own father. Lord Surya thought he was bad luck. So as soon as he was born, when he did that, when he opened his eyes, the eclipse happened. Lord Surya thought he was a bad omen. But Shani was born, he was not an ordinary child. Chaya, his mother, had done a deep penance to Lord Shiva without any food or water. And Lord Surya is heat. He's the sun. And Chaya was always with him, beside him. She did not mind that heatness, that hot, it was burning her, but she didn't mind it. She was always with him. And because of that heat, her baby in the womb turned dark. That is how Shani Bhagavan is very dark. Now, when he was born, Lord Surya thought that was not a son. And he started questioning Chaya. Whose baby is this? This is not my child. Even before the child opens his eyes, the child hears his father accusing the mother. Who? Lord Shani. That is why when he opened his eyes, Lord Surya lost his brightness. He got eclipsed. That eclipse happened. Now everything is explained to a point that Lord Shani is not the villain here, the Lord of justice, right? So because Lord Surya accused Chaya, he had to go through that eclipse. Now, when he was accusing, and of course, he's still a baby, he can only do the eclipse now. Lord Surya immediately labeled him as bad omen, bad luck. Look, immediately, the minute he was born, my brightness is gone. He took my brightness away, my light away. Now Lord Shiva came and he had to explain to Lord Surya what happened. And that's when Lord Surya saw Lord Shani in a different way, in a positive way. So, and the bond between the father and son happened only after Lord Shiva came and explained to him, you accused Chaya, and that is why this happened. Lord Shani is going to be a great, he's going to make you very proud, is what Lord Shiva said. Now again, this story proves to you that the minute he was born, look how they labeled him without him doing nothing, right? Nothing he did. So now the labeling started happening over and over again. So wherever Lord Shani went, people thought that he's bringing the bad luck. He's bringing the bad omen. Even his brother, Lord Yama, didn't leave him. He kicked Lord Shani. And that is why Lord Shani is still, he limps, is what they say. He's a little slow. When he walks, he limps and walks. So, and he has a defect since then. Now, because of this insults by everybody, he said, okay, I'm going to do a deep penance to Lord Shiva. I'm going to do penance. And he comes and does a deep penance to Lord Shiva. His mother was also a bhakta of Lord Shiva. So that's why the son also, gets it. So he goes to the same path of penance. And Lord Shiva was very pleased. He comes and he grants him so many boons. Now he appoints him as the god of justice to distribute the rewards and punishments to everybody. That is why they say that Shaniயை போல் கெடுப்பவனும் இல்லை and சனியை போல் கொடுப்பவனும் இல்லை. It's the other way around actually. சனியை போல் கொடுப்பவனும் இல்லை, சனியை போல் கெடுப்பவனும் இல்லை. That means what? There is none like Shani, Bhagavan, who can give a good life or ruin a life. That is what it means. So he can do both. But that is what he's appointed for. He's appointed to distribute the rewards and punishments. So, and he does it very well. There is no injustice. You know? So if somebody has this Shani dosham or something in their chart and they are going through a bad phase, it's their karma. He has come to give it to them in a platter, good or bad. They have come with it. And nothing is, injustice is not done. In this world, there is no injustice. Yes, in our human world, there is the Supreme Court or whatever court. You can buy people, you can do whatever you want anywhere. But this court is different. This court is different. You can't have any influence. No influence works here, right? So a small explanation for what is karma. People ask, what is karma? Right? What is it? It's a baggage. It's a baggage we all come with. It's a backpack. We all come with this backpack. It's filled with all what we have collected in our previous birth, in our previous life. And we come with it here to our present life. We all come in with a backpack. Now that backpack has all the karmas that we have to unload. We have to empty that backpack. And how do you empty it? How do you empty the karmas? You do good. You do charity. You help people. You speak the truth. You go in the path of dharma. You do your duties. You do your duties well. You be nice. You be good. This is how you empty your backpack. But instead, if we are jealous, if we are greedy, if we are hating people, if we hate, we have ego, we are proud. If we develop all these feelings, then we are filling our backpacks instead. Forget emptying. We're filling it up to have more stuff in our backpack for our next life. Now, how do you do this? How do you empty the backpack easily? By taking a spiritual path. Now, the spiritual path will help us do everything right. When we think of God and we start something, you can never go wrong. You take Hare Krishna or Hare Rama and Shiva Shiva, you will never go wrong. You start your morning, that's why they say, right? You look at your hand and picture Lakshmi, Saraswati in your hand, right? That is what they say in the morning. Why? Because you start off your day in a good manner. That is what it is. And now, if we do all this good, then our backpacks get emptied. And the journey is done. You don't have to come back. Again, the same thing with the backpack and emptying and all this. It's done. Over. Now, while we are emptying our backpacks, the karmas, it depends. What we have done in our previous life, it depends. If we have done something wrong, well, Shani is coming to appoint us with those punishments or rewards, whatever. Depending on our karmas, he is there. The Lord of Justice. He is the jury, he is the judge. Everything. So if we are good, if we are nice, if we are going in the right path, then we don't have to be scared of Lord Shani. Am I right? We don't have to be scared of him because we are right. We have not done anything wrong. So Lord Shani is the best friend. Correct? You don't have to fear him. You have to fear him only if you're doing wrong. If you're cheating someone, if you're lying, if you're not doing your duties properly, that's when you need to fear him. He's not going to come. Yeah, your chart will have some Shani there, but he's not going to do he's not going to do anything that you don't deserve. He's going to give you what you deserve, whether it be rewards or punishments. It's simple as that. And I hope this session kind of opened your mind to see Lord Shani from a different perspective. And I remember Amma saying this during a meeting, that never be scared of Shani. Shani is not a devil or demon or asura. So never be scared of him, she says. And I think the story clearly tells us why, right? The explanation of Shani, how he was born and everything tells us clearly who Lord Shani is. And we give him that pedestal of respect because Lord Shiva also gave him that Thirunallar is his place now. The place he has been given by Lord Shiva himself. You be here and you bless everybody. With that Abhaya mudra that he has, with a hand gesture, he's blessing everyone. Don't fear me is what he's saying. Don't fear, I'm here. So when he's saying, don't fear, I'm here, well, it's clearly, and that is the place you go to relieve your miseries and everything, you know. But yeah, there is no escape when you've done wrong. That is there in our scriptures. There is no escape. You can cheat the whole world. Anybody we can cheat, but not Lord Shani. Adiyoli Charanam, Jai Nandalala.